think it's super important. I think there's people out there that underestimate the importance of our childhood life, and for me, it's the most significant and where I've had the most breakthrough in understanding myself.
Welcome to the Psychosocial. This is my new podcast. This is episode 2. It's really about conversations with people that have got inspiring stories, expertise, experience related to trauma, adversity and resilience. And my name is Warren Larkin. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist and managing director at Warren Larkin Associates. And I'm delighted today to have with me Dan Sarginson. Hi, Dan.
Hello, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, we hadn't met in person. We'd had a couple of Zoom calls and it was lovely to connect, but we hadn't met in the flesh.
It's so good to meet you in person.
It is, mate.
So, Dan, you've had a glittering career in rugby league. So you've achieved a lot. So, in summary, we've got started off at Harlequins, moved to Wigan, had over 200 Super League appearances, 2 grand final wins, represented your country, and you retired at the age of 29.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is you were at the top of your game, but some people would say you still had a few good years left at elite level.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting part of the story that we want to get to, but it sounds like you achieved pretty much everything you wanted to achieve in a game.
I did, yeah. And I think when I deliver some of my public speaking, it really was this playing professional rugby. My first professional contract was everything I aspired to be, and I genuinely believed happiness was waiting there for me. But once I got there, recalibration, I kind of set my sights on something higher, and I was definitely trying to achieve more and more to fulfill something within me. Definitely, yeah. And there was some great moments. There was some amazing moments when we won some of this stuff, when I earned these contracts and played for certain clubs and the international stuff. Yeah, but it just never really took away some of the internal stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about today. We will. That I was hoping it would.
I meant to ask you though. Harlequins is associated with rugby union typically, isn't it? Was it a rugby union or rugby league you started with them?
No, they were back and forth between Harlequins and London Broncos.
Okay, London Broncos it became.
Yeah, I think they tried Harlequins Rugby League just to let some of the union people in London know that they were about. I think it was a marketing thing.
Right, I got you.
And then that didn't work, so they went to their own identity.
Right,
and
London Broncos.
I think they were back and forth for a while. Yeah, they were a bit lost in identity.
Because I was looking it up, going, was it rugby league, rugby union? I'm sure it's rugby league, but
no, it's rugby league.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the rugby league.
So, as you might expect, as a psychologist, don't worry, we're not going to therapise you.
Go into
this is a weird thing. You see, when I meet people I've not met, say if you're at a social thing, they go, "What do you do?" And I'm a psychologist. Oh, you're not going to therapise me, are you? And I'm like, how interesting are you? You really think you're that fascinating that I'm going to, off the clock, I'm going to
Yeah.
But anyway, you might imagine that I would be interested in your early life. So I guess I'm curious, and I think this is probably a question I'm going to ask pretty much everybody that I meet on this podcast, but I'm interested in your early life, what your childhood was like, anything that you think was particularly significant, and what was your family circumstances like? Where did you grow up? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Firstly, I think it's super important. I think there's people out there that underestimate the importance of our childhood life, and for me, it's the most significant and where I've had the most breakthrough in understanding myself.
Okay.
It's you obviously know it's an age where we're downloading our worldviews, and anything that happens to us is heavily downloaded within our system, isn't it? And for me, I suppose to summarise it, I was born in Australia. My mum had moved out there, and she met my dad, who was living in New Zealand. He's from there and was travelling at the time. They got together, and I suppose, cut a long story short, we had me and my little brother out in Australia. My older brother was born in England, but we settled over there in Perth. My dad was a big drinker. My dad was a massive drinker, and so I'm told. Alcoholic and kind of.
So you didn't know him well. You were very young.
Yeah, just too young to really understand and remember.
Okay.
But yeah, I suppose I was always told this story, and I think the most important thing is the story sometimes that we download from events, with trauma. We left in the middle of the night. and my dad would have woke up and all of us were gone. We were back in the UK.
This was you and your mum and your brothers?
Yeah, my mum must have felt that's what was right. I think there was an ultimatum of alcohol or the kids, and it's a very interesting one now that I've kind of lived my life with addiction and trauma, and understand that an ultimatum like that doesn't really provide a deeper investigation or understanding as to what's really going on there. Did my dad choose alcohol over us kids because he didn't love us? That's probably what I grew up with. That's probably the story I internalized.
What you believed, yeah.
Yeah. But was that necessarily true? And I suppose it's unpacking some of these stories from my.
It's really interesting, that, isn't it? Because two things that don't seem to be compatible can be true at the same time.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, lots of people with addictions love their families, but the addiction is the overriding factor in their life. Yeah, that's a tough one to make sense of, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's such a comfort blanket. I'm not sure if you've experienced addiction yourself, but my older brother's an alcoholic, and my little brother kind of went down the route of drugs more so, and he was kind of a DJ, and it was the partying scene, and so they were his kind of addictions. But I've had addictions with drugs myself, prescription drugs, cannabis, and they really have all been a complete escape from wanting to feel what's inside me and the overwhelm. So
it's like a self-soothing thing. I mean, I think with addictions, you know, we call these things addictions, but what they are is really just attempts to feel better.
Absolutely.
They're attempts to deal with the pain. And I always think that, you know, unless quite often services, you know, go and try and get help from services, they deal with the symptoms, but they don't deal with the underlying pain. So they try and help you with the thing that's causing your life problems. But they don't get to the bottom of it, which is like, what happened to you, Dan? What's happened in your life? Why are you in pain? Definitely. And if you're still in pain, you're still going to seek pain relief, aren't you? So you might give up. I don't know. Lots of people use food as a way of self-soothing. Maybe you get really overweight, you have surgery, and you can't eat as much because you've had. But then, guess what? People who've had that sort of bariatric surgery go on to be much higher in terms of addictions, other addictions, because you can't use food anymore. Absolutely. So you find something else. So unless we get to the underlying pain,
I'm with you.
That self-soothing urge, that kind of thing we do to feel better for a bit, is still there. So I think we've all got that. I don't think it's an all or nothing thing. I think some people, it becomes a problem where it starts damaging their life and their relationships and their work, etc. But I think we're all on that continuum. I think we've all got some of that as a part of us that does that for us.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I just, you know, it takes me into more of like a societal idea that we're surrounded by pleasure, aren't we? It's at our fingertips everywhere. They're in our pockets, on our phone. They're kind of, I don't know, half a mile away in an off license, and we can grab all these things. It can be sugary food, it can be snacks, it can be fast food, it can be anything that we use to soothe it. And I just think we also live in a world where I think subconsciously, I definitely grew up with an idea that I just had to find a way to be happy in life. Now, my interpretation of that was, I believed it was possible for me to reach a certain level where I was happy in every moment. I didn't understand that was a fleeting state. And so that conditioning led me to, whenever I felt uncomfortable and whenever I felt sad, along with the conditioning that it wasn't safe to open up and speak to anyone, that I had to make myself feel happy. And you know, some of that was through alcohol, some of that was through cannabis. These things made me feel happy. They fulfilled that. Well,
I often wonder, do these things make us feel happy, or do they just relieve us from the discomfort?
The latter.
And happiness is like you say, a fleeting, elusive thing, right? And I kind of sometimes wonder that we chase this concept of happiness, and it's kind of unrealistic. I think the majority of life isn't happiness. It's sometimes we get satisfaction, sometimes we feel a sense of achievement, sometimes we feel proud of ourselves, sometimes we feel that we've not done very well in a situation. But this concept of happiness, I just think I remember as an adolescent thinking, how do you achieve that state of happiness? What is it that I need to do in my life to be happy? Because adolescence is a tough time, isn't it? Quite often for a lot of people.
It's a confusing time.
It's a confusing time. So, I mean, I guess I'm interested in moving now a little bit to think about your. You know, you said your dad you and your mum and your brothers left your dad. What was your kind of view of what it was to be a man, sort of growing up?
It's so mad you just mentioned that, because that's what was coming to my head as you were talking before you even asked that. And it's something I've really looked at, maybe only in the last year or so. But just that lack of guidance and just that lack of balance as well. Do you know, in relationships there'll always be like me and my partner with our little one. She's very cautious, very maternal, very protective, and I'm very explorative, and I want to build his resilience, and I want to slightly hold him through fearful moments, not where his system's overwhelmed and it deters him from ever doing it again, but the spider in the garden, he's like, ooh, and he's backing off, and I'm like, look, Daddy can go up to it, and I'll come back and I'll hold his hand and say, do you want to get a little bit closer? And if he's okay with that, we'll go slowly. Brilliant. And I let him incrementally feel that fear, and he internalises that as, wow, it's safe to go near this. It's not going to hurt me.
You're a psychologist, graded exposure.
Yeah, and
right there.
But I just know it's only through my experience. I was thrown into situations where my system become overwhelmed. Yeah. And I never wanted to feel that again. Yeah. So a lot of my anxiety was predict every possible outcome where I might feel that feeling again, and don't go near it. Right. And so I was perceiving threats everywhere. Right. And
well, that hypervigilance to threat is a really common consequence of childhood trauma. Kind of feels like I want to explore masculinity a bit more, but
sorry.
No. But
it's very hard with me to tie me down into a subject.
It also feels like we need to talk a little bit about. You mentioned childhood trauma. You've mentioned adversity. Do you want to say, obviously, trigger warning for anybody that might be having their own issues of dealing with their own issues of childhood trauma? I mean, obviously, we're not going to go into loads of detail, but just interested, if you're comfortable with it, Dan, just to say a little bit about what were some of the difficult things that you experienced growing up, and how do you think that shaped you as you became? Because actually, it's becoming an elite athlete. It's kind of not normal, is it?
No.
It's kind of extreme. You have to be the best. It's a very high pressure environment. Yeah. How do you get from being a kid who's left the family home with the mum in the middle of the night and the brothers to being an elite athlete at the top of the game? What drives you? So how did that childhood adversity kind of shape you? I'm interested in.
I'll share something that's come up with me. I'm very... as I mentioned to you before, I'm very cautious. I don't want to bring anything up. I think we can read between the lines on how I'll speak with things. But I definitely do want to protect an element of what happened when I was younger. But I want to share something that's really come up really recently, and I've been exploring, is my primary school life, and my a realisation that this emptiness I was feeling inside, this where I didn't feel worthy of love, I didn't feel like I was accepted or I was good enough. Some of these subconscious stories that might have been generated from mum and leaving dad, feeling responsible for dad's addiction, not having my dad in my life, and internalising that, well, we must be bad. There must be something wrong with us. Along with a lot of other stuff with mum. I remember in primary school, I remember wanting to be liked by some of the more aesthetically pleasing girls within my primary school. Very young age to kind of build this. And I remember when even just the slightest touch, or if I was in a group of lads and someone would ask me something, or I was given that attention, I significantly remember this rush of like, wow, that felt amazing. And it's very interesting because I know it doesn't sound like anything, but when we translate that, I realised I could feel this feeling through other people's kind of opinions of me.
Okay.
We call it that external validation.
Contingent self-esteem. I think they call
there's the word I'm looking for.
It's just so we get our sense of self-worth through the validation of other people and achievement. Yeah.
Because it wasn't in me.
Yeah.
The experiences I hadn't led to that internal belief.
And that's an addiction.
Absolutely. And that's why my problems didn't seem evident to me until a later age, because I think we were speaking about before the podcast. My success was definitely covering it up because I was getting so much validation. Yeah. I was getting so many people tweet me telling me how good I was. I was being selected for England, which was like,
you're the best.
I was chasing that because my story about myself wasn't that. Yeah. And so really I can trace it back to primary school. I can remember the attention of others and not being popular, but on the other side of that, the rejection sometimes I would feel when girls would name their top 5 and I wasn't in that. I remember that, and that was so painful for me. That feeling of rejection was, it makes me emotional. So I'm like, that little boy just didn't know what to do in that moment, didn't know how to process that information, didn't realise it was not a reflection of who he was and his worthiness of love. but it felt hollow, and it would stay with me for a long period of time. That shame, once you become familiar with what shame actually is and how it shows up and what it feels like, and that it's like a vacuum that sucks all the energy out of you, and you're just kind of this, what's the point? How do I remove this? And so then it's a quest of, right, what protection mechanisms can I build to not feel that again?
So you obviously became extremely accomplished in your chosen discipline of rugby league. Did that start when you were a kid? When you were having these experiences of like, God, I need this validation, it feels so good. You know, you had that sort of taste of what it felt like to feel worthwhile and feel appreciated. Did that play into your kind of sense of direction when it came to sport? Did it start when you were a young person, an adolescent? Or?
Yeah, definitely.
How did it?
Well, the one thing we were never told much about Dad. We didn't really speak much about Dad. The one thing was he chose alcohol. He's not here. He's not in your life, and that was kind of it. We didn't speak about it, and so there was a lot of unanswered questions. But we knew from looking at photos and stuff that he was obsessed with the All Blacks from New Zealand. Right, so you can see where this is going.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can see photos of me with a big his New Zealand jumper on as a kid, and videos of saying, "Oh, Dan, you're gonna be an All Black when you're older, aren't you?" And it must have been priming my subconscious. I didn't know any of this, but it must have been. I must have been downloading information as a kid as like, this is where my dad's love lies.
Right.
If I'm to become this, then I see this excitement that arises within my dad, and then interpreting that as love, as like, wow, cool. And my mum took me. My mum was amazing in terms of she took me to every training session. She dedicated a lot of her life to it, and I would see genuine joy in my mum, and I have interpreted that as it was fulfilling something in my mum. A lot of times parents live through the achievements of their children. Okay, and the fear of failure they have is kind of like, I don't want you to fail. When we succeed, it relieves them of that.
Wow, that's a burden for a young child, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
I don't think the young me knew that.
No.
But looking back,
that's a lot. So you were trying to relieve your own sense of this void, this need to feel validated, but you're also seeing the impact it had on your mum.
Definitely.
Wow, it's a lot.
And I felt.
So you had no option but to keep going and get better.
No option.
Really?
I remember being 16, stood on a hill in Sheffield playing at a national carnival against Cumbria, Scotland, London and the South, and Lancashire.
Right.
And I remember being with my best mate, and we were good enough. We were playing amazing, right? And I had a feeling we were going to be selected for England. This was the national carnival where they selected the under-16 England team. I remember being sat on this hill and just saying to my mate, I do not want to be selected. I do not want. It's as if I didn't want to open.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I wanted it, but at the same time I didn't want it because of all the anxiety and the fear of failure and
And you're stepping up a level.
The stakes got higher.
Right.
So as my achievements grew, so did my anxiety.
So did that anxiety.
So did my
How interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. But were you selected?
I was.
Right.
Yeah. But I didn't show up there and fully express myself. I must have done enough through just physical effort of just grinding and determination.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expressing some of my creativity and my skills and
because you have to be relaxed to do that, don't you?
Of course, you have to be in the zone. You can't be predicting things in the future. And
so you're in survival mode, really.
Absolutely. I spent my whole career in survival mode. But if you was my opposite centre and they'd thrown like a miss pass straight to you, a bit of early ball, petrified. All I'm thinking is, it could beat me this way, could beat me that way, could lead to a try, and I'm already on the back foot.
Right.
I'm already.
Wow, that's quite something, isn't it? That's quite profound, really, because when you're really, really skilled at something, your best moments are when you're not thinking.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Where it's just. Bruce Lee famously said, he defended himself one time. He got attacked, and he really badly hurt the person that attacked him.
Yeah. And
he went to court, and he said to the judge, because the judge said, you're this highly trained person. You shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have hurt him so much. He went, well, I didn't do it. He went, what do you mean? He went, it did it. He said, what do you mean? He said, I wasn't thinking. It just came out. Wow. But when you're in that zone, it comes out. Definitely. Like, you don't plan what you're going to do. Definitely. You just react because you've been doing it for so long. So your career, this is the thing that's striking me. You excelled in your career in this state of survival, in this state of hypervigilance, where you're creative mind, your prefrontal cortex, was probably offline.
You have to, yeah, definitely was, yeah.
But you still achieved. You still excelled. This is awful that I'm going to say now, but imagine what it would have been like if you were relaxed.
I always think that. But that feeds into the work I look to do now.
Yeah, exactly.
I know so many people are feeling how I felt.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people's experiences have got them to where they get to.
Yeah.
And so they're tapping into the strengths of that. But the whole downside of it is there's a whole nother 20-30% in
Exactly.
that people aren't tapping into.
Exactly.
And as well, they're not enjoying their career
Yes.
because they're saturated in anxiety and
Exactly.
fear. And that radiates into every other area of their life, which people aren't aware of.
Wow.
And so I can see this opportunity for
That's
people.
a genuinely profound realisation, I think, that you can now help people with your experience who are in elite sport or in high performance roles to get into that zone and trust themselves and love themselves, so they can get that extra 20-30% of what they've got. They're already good, but they can be even better.
Definitely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that is amazing.
Yeah. People have to be ready for that, though.
Yeah.
You can't convince someone there's 20-30% left in someone until they come to you and relate to your experiences and say, I've tried everything here. They have to be in that state of desperation. They have to have tried a lot of the time, they have to have tried many different things. It's like their rock bottom within sport. You know, this rock bottom that drives people.
It's a universal law, I think, that people create meaningful changes in life when they hit a wall of some kind.
Yeah.
You know, people don't make profound life changes when things are going swimmingly, do they?
No.
It's when they go bang.
Yeah.
Oh, something's got to change. And then these profound changes of direction occur.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really exciting what you're doing. I don't want to get into the kind of your current career until we've properly done justice to some of your previous career.
I'm your worst nightmare in terms of linear, because
me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been just diagnosed with ADHD, so at least now I know why my brain works the way it does.
There's two of us,
so
going
we're in trouble. We could go anywhere. Let's go to Australia.
Yeah, keep jumping back on.
No, we're not going to Australia. Can we go back to Wigan, because we're in Wigan? So you started off your career with what is now London Broncos, age 17.
Yeah.
That must have been a big sense of accomplishments. I've got a professional contract.
Yeah.
Were you feeling a mixture of elation and fear because you were joining you were kind of stepping up to the.
Do you know what? Looking back, I still wasn't playing with that much fear within me.
Okay.
I was fearless. I hadn't had. This sounds crazy, and I didn't grow up with Sky Sports. Didn't grow up with watching rugby league.
Right.
Used to play rugby union. I was brought up with rugby union.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I started playing rugby union when I was 4. Started league when I was 14, 15. I didn't know any players. I didn't know anything. And even when I kind of debuted, I didn't know anyone I was playing against. I was fearless.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was just doing me. And you can tell the way I was taking on players that I shouldn't have been taking on. But I was coming out on top.
Brilliant.
And I was very agile, had this footwork.
Yeah.
I remember playing against Wigan, not really knowing that Wigan were one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
And the stuff they were achieving. I really didn't. I went into it, people saying, be careful, he's a great player. I'm like, okay, cool. But I remember making 3 or 4 line breaks and like scoring a try again. I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they went on to sign me. They just saw something in me.
Yeah.
But thinking back, that time I was still really enjoying it. I was playing with my mates. I was just out there expressing myself. There was elements of fear, but it wasn't as crippling as what it went on to be.
How interesting. Just had a bit of a flashback there to my dad. My dad played professional. Played for Wigan and Warrington and Widnes, and he said to me, I always remember him saying to me, he used to say this thing. He said, I never picked up a rugby ball till I was 18. I didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
I just turned up for a trial one day at St Pat's and I got signed, and then I ended up getting signed for Wigan, and that was it.
Wow.
Because it just wasn't a thing. He didn't even play rugby at school.
Wow.
So I imagine, like, when he talks about it, when he used to talk about it, he's sadly passed, he speaks about that period when he found rugby as joyful, It was just, there was no pressure, it was joyful, it was just in the zone, But then when you get into the professional realms of it's your job, you went to Wigan a couple of times in your career, didn't you? You played for Wigan. So the first time you went to Wigan, you got signed. What was that experience like?
It was a step up. We went
best team in the one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, went from bottom of the league to a team that had just won the double. So I knew I had to step up. I even went in on a day off, expecting just to be shown around the training ground, and I saw half the team in there. I'd never seen that before. I was,
just in the building kind of thing?
in stretching, doing extras.
Doing stuff.
On their day off.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, they're not meant
paid
to be
extra
here.
for this or what?
Yeah.
Is this like incentivized?
Right.
But I'd never seen that. We like in London, we were probably still hungover from like a Wednesday night student night in.
Yeah.
It was a different.
Yeah.
Level.
So high level of professionalism.
Yeah. And the culture hits you in the face, and that's what I say about cultures now. You create an environment where that's the majority. And then people coming into that,
see it like you,
yeah,
and go, this is what you do here.
You have to rapidly adapt. You don't come in and call the shots. You rapidly adapt to the higher standards, and you see what's going on, and you're inspired by others. And
yes,
I saw Sean O'Loughlin, Liam Farrell, all these players playing international, where I wanted to get to, and I saw them in on their day off. It's you see that, and you just internalize that. This is what I must do. This is this is the level of dedication I have to step up into. So it was definitely eye-opening. I didn't realise how big it was. I think some of the derby games and that really shocked me.
Yeah.
I was just kind of immersed in this world where it had to become my world.
Did you feel like a sense of huge pride and satisfaction that you did it, or is it more the fear that you talked about before?
It was just what's next. It was just like, now let's win a trophy.
Okay.
I didn't have this ability to sit back and feel that gratitude for the effort I'd put in and the years of dedication and up at 6 dragging my little brother out of bed to pass off both hands, and straight away after school doing my homework quickly to get down the park to kick for 2 hours. And
brilliant.
and like SAQ ladders in the garden and watching YouTube videos on Benji Marshall and how he stepped and what he did with his head to deceive people, and just this level of dedication I was just like, I just thought that's what's necessary to get to here, and so I never looked back and praised myself. But it's kind of the story with anything. I didn't look for the positives in myself. I would only ever look for the threats, the lack of safety, and where I could potentially mess up. I think
it's such a common theme, isn't it, with people who are high achievers, that it's very much they're driven. Yeah. People say like you're driven, but that's not always a good thing, is it? It's we're often driven because we're afraid of failure. We feel like we need this sense of achievement to justify our existence. So tell me a bit more about that first stint at Wigan. Obviously there were the successes and the professional achievements, but what about how were things for you, kind of like in your personal life, emotionally? Where were you at?
I was already kind of a heavy drinker from the London Broncos days, so that was kind of a culture.
How old were you at that point, Dan?
So 16, 17.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, drinking.
And then when you got to Wigan, how old were you then?
I think I was 20 or 21.
You could argue it's quite normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're a professional athlete, so you got to balance the two things.
No, definitely, yeah. No, I think at London it went from drinking, going out with my mates to enjoy myself.
Right.
To at Wigan it kind of became, I'm not feeling great.
Okay.
And who's coming out this weekend? Because I just don't want to feel this.
Right.
Or I want a relationship because I feel lonely and isolated because I can't connect with other people, can't connect with my friends. I thought I was connecting, but it was. We can go down that route if you want. But so I felt quite isolated. I felt on my own. I didn't open up. I didn't speak to anyone. I was carrying a lot, and drinking was my escape from that. But also, a massive thing for me was my confidence. I wanted a partner, as I mentioned. I didn't feel comfortable speaking to girls. That primary school stuff of that rejection. Didn't want to feel that.
Yeah.
So the whole kind of confidence I had was kind of a facade. It wasn't authentic. It was it was exhausting, and the drink became
a soothing kind of sort of comforting thing. So what was your sort of family situation at that point? Where was your social network? Because you say you felt isolated. Who were the people in your life? Where was your family at that point?
My older brother was off at acting school, trying to become an actor, pursuing what I speak to him now was like him trying to fulfill his void. My little brother and sister had kind of built a strong connection at home, and my mum was up to Wigan every week watching rugby. So they kind of felt a bit left out. They kind of felt like they wasn't achieving things, so they'd internalised that in their way, and they were kind of struggling on their own. My brother had become an alcoholic at this this is where he started to drink very heavily.
This is your older brother.
Yeah, the acting stuff, all the pressure and the stress and the achievement, and so we were all very disconnected as kids, as definitely as siblings. If we rang each other, it was very surface level. And looking back, I had a very surface level relationship with my mum and my grandma and grandpa, and didn't speak to my dad. So family wise, I was very isolated.
So that support network that normally people fall back on when things are tough, family members, siblings, you didn't really open up to them in the way that might have been helpful.
No, and I like to use this phrase because again, I don't think it's fair to point fingers when people are unconscious of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I use a phrase called unconscious invalidation. So I look back, and every time I tried to test the water and open up about something quite small, it was shut down. It was kind of, I'll get on with it. Come on, we're going through this sort of stuff. Or if it was a feeling I was bringing up about a frustration with something within my family, it was met with this kind of huge victim mode of, you know, I'm an awful person. Am I right? Well, yeah, just do it. And it was met with such guilt,
defensiveness, and
the guilt and shame I would feel. I'd be like, whoa, I don't want to make my mum feel like that. I don't want to make my family feel like that. So I should keep this to myself. It's safe to keep this to myself.
Exactly. So you bury it, and you're in an environment, I'm assuming, that is tough, resilient. The people around you are tough, resilient, driven.
Surrounded by men.
Right.
Yeah.
So most of us know that it's not easy to open up and be vulnerable in an environment like that.
Yeah.
So how did things develop then in terms of your kind of well-being during that period at Wigan?
Just deteriorated significantly. I got into drugs. I was taking drugs every weekend. That was a societal problem. That wasn't a sporting problem. That existed heavily within sport, but that existed heavily within society as well. But I got to a stage where I remember clearly my friends coming up from London, travelling 3 hours to come see me play. So excited to come see me. Just wanted to go out for a beer in Revs. I remember saying, "Listen, lad, you wait here. I just need to go sort something out." And go in asking people for drugs. I was desperate. I needed it. And you look
just
at
to switch off.
Oh yeah. You look at that, and it's just, my friends were sat there, made all this effort, wanted to sit there and just talk about rugby and see how I was, and just that connection, and I just had so much else going on. I was like, sorry, lad, I need to go get something to soothe this.
So you're trying desperately to disconnect, and even the people in your life that wanted to connect with you, wanted to be there for you, you were so overwhelmed by what was going on that you had to find means of disconnecting. And that's the thing with people that have experienced trauma and it's unresolved, is that actually the things that are going to heal us, the things that are going to help us find ourselves and be happy, if there's a thing called happiness, be content, at peace, at ease. You know, disease is we're not at ease. We're comfortable with ourselves. The thing that really helps people do that are the relationships. Is actually leaning into our relationships, and at that point in time, what you would do is disconnecting, because you find, if I open up, it's painful here. I can't open up in this environment. It's all men. We're meant to be tough. We're meant to be resilient. So things started to get worse. Well, not worse, but things started to get more difficult in terms of how you were coping.
They intensified. Things intensified definitely.
And you didn't open up to anybody at the club?
No one.
Because they had a duty of care to you, maybe.
No, sorry, that's probably. Okay. I was speaking with Mick Farrell, and I have such a beautiful memory of being able to speak to Mick.
That's really good.
And he was helping me with some of the drug stuff. And when I was on these big come downs, if I'd been out for a couple of days, I would ring Mick, and he'd come around. There was no judgment. It was a safe space. But I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go into what I subconsciously knew was there. If you would have said, "Well, what's there? What you hiding from? What do you not want to face?" I'd have gone, "I don't really know. Everything on paper's brilliant," but I didn't want to.
Go there.
I didn't want to prod the bear. I there was a part of me that was very wise and knew there was too much there to face at once.
Right,
that I was scared of. Yeah.
We'll get onto parts a bit later.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You from Wigan, you went to Australia.
Yeah.
Gold Coast Titans.
Yeah.
What prompted that move, and how was it when you got there?
So I'd been speaking with NRL teams for years prior. Wanted to go out there. I knew it was the best competition in the world. Again, I wanted to achieve everything. I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. Australia obviously has. I think in society we have a lot of this idea of, if I move to a country that's hot, with the beaches and
Yeah.
you know all of
Paradise.
this external stuff,
Yeah.
that it will make me happy.
Yeah.
And I see so many people do it now, and it's not. There's no judgment. I don't try and stop them, but I sometimes know that, you know, you're still taking the same person out there that's struggling.
You
internally.
go with yourself.
Yeah.
You
And you're
can't
spending
leave-
every minute
exactly.
of every day.
Oh yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, with all these problems.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I completely understand why people look to do that, and
Right.
and some people need to exhaust that option
Yeah.
to then come back and go, okay,
Yeah.
that didn't work. Now let's look at me.
Yeah.
And it's not always the case. But yeah, I thought all my problems would go. I thought I'd be on more money out. I was on 3 times the amount of money I was in the UK.
Wow.
But the funny thing with this, and I don't really speak about this much, was I got offered, not to talk figures, but I got offered double to go to Melbourne Storm.
Wow.
Right, when they were Billy Slater, Cameron Smith,
Wow.
the big dogs, yeah. And I would have been getting some decent ball. I would have been under a coaching regime that I would have flourished under. They've been trying to they had their eye on me, and Andy Clark, who's out here, he was facilitating that and was letting me know that Craig Bellamy was after me for a while. And I was about to sign it. We were about a week away from signing. I was buzzing. I was thinking, wow, this is going to be amazing. And Gold Coast come in last minute and said, well, listen, we want you. And so Andy cleverly said, well, we're not telling you what he's been offered.
Right.
Throw something at us. And
Yeah.
And so they offered me triple my wage.
Wow.
And triple my UK wage. And I definitely felt at the time, I definitely sold my soul to the devil a little bit. I knew they were going to be bottom of the league. I knew we'd struggle,
Right.
but it was like, oh, the money will outweigh that.
Opportunities as well. Yeah, and the money. Yeah, I mean,
and the beach and the lifestyle, and I got seduced.
how old were you at that point, Dan?
People might look this up, and I'm awful with times and dates.
Roughly.
23, 24.
Oh my God! So you're a 23-year-old young man.
Yeah.
Technically, still an adolescent.
Yeah.
Till you're about 25, 26, your brain's still developing. So you're an adolescent, if you don't mind me putting it in those terms.
Oh, beyond an adolescent,
With
yeah.
massive pay packet, fame, status,
Yeah.
top of your game in Australia. What could be better?
Yeah, exactly. And that was the exact thing that caused my breakdown. It was, I don't have anything else to achieve to cover up how this is feeling. I'm out here. I'm in Brisbane Airport. The humidity's hitting me. Pre-season starting in a week's time, and I feel the worst I've ever felt.
And everyone thinks you should be on top of the world.
You know what I mean? Everyone
Yeah.
thinks I should be excited.
Yeah,
So there's this perceived idea versus how I felt, which creates more shame around opening up.
Yeah,
Because I perceive that everyone will say, "Well, you've got everything. What's the matter with you?"
exactly.
So
Yeah.
how I perceived people would take it was like, you definitely can't open up because there's
You
people
can't.
struggling
People
out
think
here.
you're crazy.
Yeah, people
Look
want
at this, and you're not happy. You know what's
You know what I
so
mean?
the pressure to keep that inside must have been immense.
awful. Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of my coping mechanisms. And yeah, I broke down out there. I was just crying every day. I couldn't control it.
Away from your social support as well.
Yeah. Well,
Isolated.
my 2 best mates were travelling around Asia at the time.
Okay.
And I invited them over to come live with me.
Oh, brilliant.
Because I wanted to be busy.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep my mind off
Makes
things.
sense.
And I still broke down with them there. I weren't opening up to them. It was more exhausting because I had to put on an act. I was living with them, so I was putting on an act 24/7, not even sleep,
Wow.
but 12 hours a day. I was having to pretend I was okay, and it was just exhausting.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting.
And yeah, I full on broke down. I was just crying at everything, and it was uncontrollable.
And having to play at high level at the same time.
Yeah, it was pre-season.
Oh, right,
So there was a lot of pressure, a lot of expectation,
Yeah.
but I had injuries and stuff, which was adding stress. But yeah, no, I was carrying a lot, and I remember the day I had enough, and it was because I was having thoughts in my home of kind of taking my life, and I was thinking, wow, what is this? Why am I feeling this way, and what's going on? Like, I'd always thought about it, but never really. What a load of rubbish! But I was starting to consider it, and
so you'd really run out of ideas of how to feel better at that point.
Yeah. And something in me knew that the club doctor at Gold Coast Titans, Nikki, her name was, South African woman, lovely woman. Every interaction I'd had with her, I'd never witnessed anyone open up to her. I didn't know what a psychologically safe environment was. again, there was a wise part of myself that was just like, go in there now and open up to this woman, because you've cried all the way into training. You've been crying for the last 2 weeks. I feel awful and it's exhausting, and I didn't train that day. I was in there for about 2 hours, just couldn't stop crying, and I don't revisit it often, so I get emotional thinking of that now. That version
I'm
of me. Sorry.
Visualising it in my mind, and I'm thinking it must have been an incredibly brave step for you to do that.
Yeah. She was amazing. That day, I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety. They were kind of the labels, you know.
Yeah.
And it was the closest thing to explain how I was feeling, of course.
Sure. But a part of you knew that you needed help, that you needed to trust someone.
Yeah.
And this wise part of you must have known that you could trust this woman with these deepest, darkest secrets that you were suffering with.
Yeah.
Did it feel like a weight off? Did you feel better for talking about?
I talk about it like a dam, like
it all just came out.
Yeah, just held this back and built this wall for so long, and it was holding all this water back, and it was so heavy. And I suppose the analogy is the water was the tears, and it was just flowing, and I was inconsolable.
Yeah.
And but I felt no shame. I felt in that moment. I remember thinking, wow, I thought I was gonna feel weak in this moment, and I thought this woman would just laugh and send me out to train, and
right.
She held the most beautiful space for me.
Wow.
And it's amazing. It just transformed my belief system that there were people out there that would be willing to listen to me, and that could understand.
Accept you.
Could understand, yeah.
And it's like those moments, I think, were an interaction, even if it's a minute, 2 minutes, 2 hours. Those sort of interactions can change your life.
Definitely.
Because if we've had relationships in our life where we've been hurt, often, like you say, you look out for people letting you down, you look out for signs of danger, you look out for relationships being opportunities for rejection.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So to trust someone and to be vulnerable with them is really difficult.
Definitely.
And when you have a positive experience, it kind of changes your worldview a little bit, bit by bit.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
So what happened after that then? How did things pan out in Australia then after your kind of disclosure to this doctor?
I was carrying patellar tendonitis in my left knee. Now, anyone listening to this follows rugby. My main strength was my left foot step. I played left centre and I could cut back, but then people were so scared of that I could sometimes get on the outside. So it was nice. It was my main weapon, I suppose. And the change in surface, I won't bore you too much with this, but going from boggy old Wigan to rock hard Gold Coast. The change, the tendons don't like that rapid change. So I developed this tendonitis, couldn't step. So I spent pre-season trying to run over people, which you can see by my build wasn't why they brought me out there.
Well, you were about, I looked it up, you were about almost 15 stone.
Nearly, yeah, but that was nothing compared to
but that's
the NRL boys.
Well, okay, all right.
They were 100 kg plus.
Wow. Because I looked at it thinking he's big for a centre.
Yeah. No.
But the game's changed, hasn't it?
I was always one of the smallest.
Were you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wasn't. Anyway, I couldn't shine the way I knew I could, and that was frustrating. And that was bringing up all the failure stuff. So there was that side. The injury side of thing was deep for me as well. It was really frustrating. I couldn't present the best version of myself, and so I spent a year there. I only played 5 games, and then dislocated my shoulder. And thank God I did, because I was just under so much stress, and didn't know what I was going to do. So dislocated my shoulder, I was out for the season. So I thought, just a bit of breathing space. Yeah. Sometimes injuries for me were, I know it sounds horrible and fans might listen to it now, I never wished them to occur, but sometimes they were just such a relief for me. Yeah, I could just, 2 months, like a month in a sling, where I don't have to achieve and don't have to prove myself, and I can just, and I was probably attracting, you can argue I was attracting more and more injuries because I was, welcoming them so.
Right, okay. So that's an interesting theory.
Yeah. If people kind of think down that manifestation route, what we think about so often and what gives us that relief, we can sometimes attract that. Yeah, who knows? But I was injured for a lot of my career. Yeah,
I was looking it up the other day. You had some bad luck.
Bad luck. Yeah, and I was injured so much, but it gave me that respite.
Yeah,
and. Yeah.
No, I'm really interested in the help that you got. So
cool.
You made this like massive, like this brave step to open up to somebody. You got a great response, which is, you know, one of the things that I always teach professionals, is how you respond to someone's disclosure can be life changing, good or bad.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong,
Definitely.
they're probably never going to talk to anyone again.
Definitely.
If you get it right, it can change their life.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you had a positive experience. What, you knew you needed help. What kind of, how did you pursue that sort of self-development, that healing, recovery, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. It was medication for the rest of the time I was in Australia.
What, antidepressants, that
Yeah,
kind of thing?
yeah. Knew I didn't want to be on that long term, but it stopped me with the suicidal thoughts. It did its job.
Yeah.
Perfect. Knew it wasn't a long term fix for me, just the way I was. I didn't want to be. I wanted to uncover it on myself. I wanted to, so I came back to the UK and I started a bit of therapy. I was signed back for Wigan, started a bit of therapy. Sorry, we've missed the whole part there. But after a year, they offered me a release, and I thought I'll come back to the UK, sign back for Wigan, where all my mates are.
Brilliant.
Bit more connection. I feel more open to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
Had my dog there, all these comforts. So did that and started a little bit of therapy with rugby league cares through that sort of stuff. So, but I was dipping my toe in,
So the sport provided you with some pastoral care, essentially.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. And they were really cool. They were amazing. It was a really safe environment, but I was dipping my toe in. I was still hesitant to trust people, and when there's a life, a whole childhood of physical and emotional and abuse, then the trust element and the safety element is something that is very hard to build. Yeah. Varying on the intensity of that, and I understand that now, but at the time I was like, why can't I open up to this guy?
How old are you then? I know I keep asking this, but
you got to check in on the age.
But it's really interesting to, because thinking about it, you're still quite a young man.
Yeah. I'm just guessing here, but maybe 20, 25.
Okay,
out there, 23, 24 after a year.
This puts things in perspective a little bit. Like, a lot of people either never do therapy because they carry all these problems inside throughout their life, and it affects their relationships and their work and their friendships and their addictions and everything else. Yeah. And sometimes they hit a wall, and later on in life, middle age, whatever, their marriage breaks down or they lose their job and they get some help. You're 25 and you're recognising, that wise part of you is recognising, I need to do something here. I need some help. Yeah. And you took that step of seeking help and making yourself vulnerable. So actually, that is significant. I mean, 25, that's a really mature thing to do, actually. Yeah. I knew I needed to. I didn't know what I was going into. I didn't know what I needed to discover. It was scary. It was the unknown. But as I said, I definitely was dipping my toe in, and I liked the fact I could tell myself I was doing therapy, give myself that little pat on the back, but I wasn't being fully honest. I wasn't. Of course. I was telling the story as if it was still everyone else's fault. It was never looking backwards at me, the painful stuff. Sure. But it was really the losing my little brother, about 7 or 8 months on from that changed everything. Are you comfortable saying a little bit about that, Dan? So you'd started therapy. Yeah. You were succeeding in your career at Wigan. Yeah. Yeah, you were feeling in some ways a little bit more connected, a bit more comfortable because you're around friends and you had your dog, and so that, and presumably a bit closer to family, even though we talked about that. Yeah. If you don't mind, just talk us through, because that, I know from talking to you before that's like obviously an incredibly difficult but important chapter of your kind of your life and your kind of growth, I suppose.
Yeah. So my little brother was the same as me. No one really knew what was going on. We were all reluctant to accept it. He'd go out for a couple of days and then sleep for 2 days straight, and we're like, what's going on? He's just been out partying, and he's exhausted, and you tell everything you want to hear. You don't want to accept the reality that he was taking drugs quite heavily, and because I just didn't have a clue about what I was experiencing, why I was experiencing it, I just thought I was broken. I didn't for 1 minute think he was struggling. Yeah. I just thought he's having fun, he's partying, and that's what people do in the world. But after a while, he started to have episodes of like a bipolar schizophrenia. He had voices in his head. Okay. Drug-induced psychosis. Yeah. And it's all good, man. I don't mind expressing this. But yeah, he had. I remember picking him up. That's the love for him, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Pain is proportionate to love, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Sorry for asking you this, Dan. We can move on.
I'm all for this. I think it's so important. I think it's the most important part of it. I remember picking him up this time, and he rang my grandma, and I don't think he felt overly safe to ring me. I think he felt I didn't understand him, and I think Grandma had that softer touch, and I could see the panic in Grandma's face, and she said, "Oh, could you go pick him up? I've picked him up in a couple of these states before, and it's really too much for me. Could you go down?" And I said, "Absolutely." Like, oh my God, what's up with him? Just didn't see anything coming. And I remember picking him up from this house party, and it was like he'd been taking drugs all night, and it was kind of like 11 the next day.
Oh, right, okay.
I just happened to be home that weekend, and this guy said, "Oh, are you his brother? You come in." And I went in, and he was sat in the corner, and he was like frothing from his mouth.
Oh God.
He was just looking through me, and his pupils were dilated, and he was like, "Dan, they're all trying to kill me. They're all trying to kill me." And yeah, the panic in his the fear in his eyes is something I'll never forget. And yeah, he was living with that, man. He was living with them episodes of being completely convinced that people were trying to kill him. And you know, he sadly either fell or jumped from a 3-story building. We don't know. No one was there. No one saw it. But what makes sense to me is what makes sense to me. And again, that's partly there to protect my family who have different beliefs. And you know, at the end of the day, he's not here. But
sorry for your loss, Dan.
That pain you feel there, that pain you witness is why I do what I do now. And it just helped me to the more it was like a safety blanket for me, that I had to understand why he was feeling the way he was, and the more I started to do that, I started to understand myself.
Okay.
I started to understand we'd had the same experiences. And yeah, that was my catalyst. That was what propelled me into. I will spend the rest of my life investigating this, so I can understand my brother and build that connection, even though he's not there. Because this love and grief I'm feeling is so intense, and that's where it led me, and it just beautifully unfolded so much about myself, and to the point where 29 years old, I retired. I was like, I've been exposed to so much here that not just me and my little brother are struggling with, and my older brother with his alcoholism, and my dad, and surrounded by all this trauma. I was like, I understand it all now, and I can't keep quiet. I have to share this. I have to spread this, and yeah, that's.
So it's like you had a more important job at that point than playing rugby.
By 100-fold.
Yeah.
By 100-fold. And I'd realised, and through the self-exploration, I'd understood my little brother was trying to be a DJ and run all these side hustles, and he just wanted to be accepted. He wanted to be loved. And I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be loved, and rugby was my modality. So once I realised rugby was the vehicle I was using for that, and that the journey was really about finding that love for myself internally, I was like, I don't overly need that. If I was earlier in my career, it would have been beautiful. I would have carried on playing. I don't want to say anyone who uncovers this will walk away from their profession. No way. It's just my purpose and my passion was so strong. I just couldn't do it anymore.
And you kind of realised at that point, it sounds like you realised that this thing that I do, this achievement this thing I do that drives me, this thing where I'm really good at, isn't going to solve the problem, isn't going to find me the answers. So maybe I shouldn't do this thing anymore. Maybe I need to fully embrace this other journey that you've got, this new chapter.
Absolutely. And I do want to reiterate, if it was earlier on within my career, I would have still gone on the same journey of finding that internal appreciation for myself without relying upon the external, and use that to tap into that the flow, dissolving my anxiety, creating safety within myself, and then expressing myself within my profession. But because I was 29, my body was creaking. I'd had 10 plus concussions. I'd had 2 shoulder operations, knee, hamstring reattachment, everything. Right, I couldn't stay on the field. So it was, my decision was made for me at the same time of like, let's step out and let's help other people who have experience
Absolutely.
what you've experienced.
Amazing. It's a painful journey that you've been on, but it's also a beautiful outcome in terms of you being in this situation. You've got these insights, you've got this passion, and you've got this kind of need to not only understand yourself, but also to share some of that wisdom with other people.
Yeah.
So I just want to move on to where we are now, if it's all right, Dan.
Yeah.
Your next chapter, your new chapter, really. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since you retired? Obviously at the top of your game. I think you were with Salford at the time, weren't you?
Yeah.
29, still probably had a lot of games left in you, but you made this really powerful choice, this really brave choice. I'm going to leave this fame, fortune, status, and I'm going to do my own thing. That must have been, thinking about it, like you said, other people looking in from the outside must have thought, what is he doing? What, he's at the top of his game, why is he doing this? How did that feel? And how did your teammates, how did your kind of colleagues in the sport react when you said, look, I'm calling it a day, I've got other things I need to focus on?
People were just shocked. People couldn't understand me, no matter how much I explained.
Yeah.
They couldn't understand it, which was fine. My partner fully understood.
Yeah.
She knew I'd been wrestling with walking away from it for a few years. I think she knew I'd be happier with that.
Yeah.
And she just kind of supported me in my decision. I did need a bit of confirmation from someone.
Yeah.
Just to know I wasn't going mad. But she knew me more than anyone else, and she said, "Listen, I've listened to you for the last 2-3 years. You're ready."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I am.
Yeah.
I just need, I doubt myself sometimes.
We all do, yeah, definitely.
And
I think that's the thing with having a partner as well. If we're
Yeah.
lucky enough to have a partner, it's incredibly important, isn't it, to have that reference point.
Yeah.
Not only to confirm that sometimes you're right,
Yeah.
but also to tell you when you're wrong.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that requires something that not many people see as a precursor to that, which is trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust and safety. And you have to be sure that their intention is for your greater good.
Yeah.
If there's any trauma that is misting the, making it unclear and creates that doubt of like, oh yeah, you just want, we misinterpret their intention.
Yes.
That's why we have to resolve the trauma to build that safety and trust, to then allow people to show us our blind spots.
Yeah.
So by doing so, we accelerate our growth.
So absolutely perfect description. That unless we work on ourselves, it's going to show up in our relationships.
Definitely.
It's almost like we sabotage them.
Absolutely.
Because you say there's that safety and that trust is essential to be who you really are.
Yeah.
Without the mask,
Absolutely. And I do want to mention it's crazy because you'd assume that I'm delivering what I'm delivering now and life's great, but life still throws very intense challenges at me. And my older brother at the moment, he was living homeless for 6 months out in New Zealand, obviously alcohol dependent every day. And there's a beautiful twist to this, don't worry, I'm not just leading us down all this heavy stuff. So homeless, was sectioned into a mental health institute, alcohol induced psychosis ? So was in there for a while. I was on Zoom calls every night with a doctor and speaking to him over in New Zealand. Got him home. He's gone to Thailand. Without going into it, he's having seizures daily, and there's a lot of intensity with that. But the most beautiful thing within it is, at first I thought, because this has happened to my little brother, I need to save my older brother. I have all this information now, I can save him. And there was still this resistance. We can't. I learned the lesson the hardest way. I can't save him. He's had this suicidal ideation. I can't sit there and say, please don't do it, Brad. I just have to. I have to support him, and I have to say, mate, like, I don't want this to happen. But if this is the result of what it takes away from you, I will do everything in my power to support you and build that connection now, so that you don't feel like you want to. But I can't stop you, man. No. And I just want you to know I love you. Yeah. And every time you pick up a beer and drink, I'm not judging you. Yeah. I'm not shaming you. I understand why you do it. And through doing so, through having that different approach, me and my brother have been the closest we've ever been. Do you know, I talk about my siblings in my childhood and we weren't close. Yeah. Mate, me and my brother, we speak every day.
Wonderful.
We have this connection, which is just, I never thought I'd have with him. He's still struggling a lot, but
He's got you.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got that. He knows that you're there when he needs you.
Absolutely, and I take so much pride in that, and yeah, just it's such a beautiful thing amongst such a tough time that's still going on for me.
And people don't change because we want them to, unfortunately, and that can be a painful thing. Like we said, people sometimes get to a point where they go, I can't do this anymore, or something happens in life, and it might be a physical illness, or it might be one day you wake up and go, do you know what, I don't want to feel like this anymore. But something will change, and gradually that kind of motivation builds up to that point, and it's a cycle. There's a cycle of change, and ultimately, when he's ready, you're there for him, and that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And no. It's just it's, like you said, man. It's a beautiful thing in such a challenging situation, but. I'm still learning a lot.
Yeah,
still learning a lot.
And you've done like me. You've done internal family systems therapy.
Yes.
How did you I've done internal family systems therapy. Received it for probably about 3 years now, and I think it's been incredible. I've done industrial amounts of therapy, but this has been like the most profound thing that I've ever done. I'm a believer that you do chapters of work. You can't do everything at once. Obviously, I used to be a therapist for people for 25 years. You don't do it all at once. Like, we're complicated. We've got all these different parts of ourselves, and all these different wounds, and all these different needs and unmet kind of wounds that we need to heal, right? So I'm a believer that we do chapters of work. You can't do it all at once. I've done lots of chapters of work over the time, but when I got to this internal family systems therapy, it's weird, but it's incredibly powerful. And it's this idea that, for people who don't know anything about it, it's this idea that we've got lots of different parts of ourselves inside our head, in our personality.
They compare it to multiple personality,
don't
they?
But in a healthy way.
In a healthy way, of course,
we've all got it.
We've
all got it.
And we really do.
This guy called Richard Swartz, who is a family therapist, and he came up with this idea from observing what happened in a room with people, with families, that people take on different roles. And in our head, in our personality, we've got these different parts. Some of them are wounded, usually from childhood, and they've got needs, and they're vulnerable. But then we've got these other parts, these managers, that try and keep us on task, that try and get us to achieve, that try and push us and drive us forward, and keep us organised away from these wounded children. And then we've got these firefighters who, when things get too painful, we get too close, they take us away from it, whether it be with work, drugs, alcohol, food, smoking, sex, gambling, whatever it is, they take us away. So the task we've got is to kind of come into contact with these. My therapist would be weepy when she heard this explanation. Come into contact with these, these vulnerable parts, these wounded parts, and actually be with them. Be available to them in yourself, like your self energy, your kind of essence, who you are, right? And then you've got to maybe acknowledge these firefighters that are trying to help you, and all these parts are trying to help you. But we've got to somehow navigate the managers and the firefighters, and keep things in balance so that they don't take us off on an extreme form of distraction or extreme form of self-soothing. So it's very strange, but it is actually, once you get into it, it's quite intuitive, and
very intuitive.
Something you can do for yourself once you understand it. Tell me a bit about it, just obviously without going into any detail, but what brought you to IFS, and what's your experience of it been? I'm
very curious about the subconscious, and CBT doesn't take you in the subconscious. I believe CBT, for me, it can do, but for me personally, CBT was a modality that taught me it's safe to speak to other people, and that's a way of regulating my emotions, right? Through speaking with someone else, we have to feel the emotion as we're speaking about it, and we can, over time, we can learn to regulate if someone is holding a safe space for that, right? So I thought it was beautiful, and then I kind of developed people within my life that I could do that with my partner, with my brother, with other people, certain friends, and I realised a lot of things that were going on for me were unconscious, were happening before I could catch it. Now I meditate and yoga, and they bring a level of awareness, but I think simultaneously, going back and visiting these young parts of ourselves that are ultimately showing up as these triggers.
Yeah.
They're very young parts of ourselves that are doing such a beautiful job at trying to protect us. I loved the idea of going back and spending some time with the little me, because I felt so alone. I felt so isolated. The fear that I used to feel as a little boy was so intense. I can't explain it. I had this crippling fear of death that I would think about most days. I had a fear of going red and being embarrassed and kids laughing at me, and the shame and embarrassment. So I was always trying to protect myself from that. So I had the social anxiety side of things. Oh, I was just riddled with fear, and I just know I knew I needed to go back and spend some time with him.
And that wounded child, that fearful child on its own, is still there in your personality, in your mind, in your self.
Yeah.
And actually what we can do now is, as our adult, mature, safe self, we can go back with all our resources and all our love and all our kind of support, and we can go and be with that wounded child, and we can help them, and we can protect them, and we can give them what they need, because they didn't get what they needed then.
Yes.
And I found that in the therapy really emotional. Like, I've done that a few times, where you go back to that child in that vulnerable situation, and the emotion just pours out.
Unbelievable.
It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
But it's like the body keeps the score. Best of Van der Kolk's book, the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
It really does.
It really
it's
does.
in there.
Yep.
And it's surprising. I keep getting to a point where I go, do you know what? I think I've done enough of this. I've done enough of this work now. I've done everything I need to do, and then we'll have a session, and suddenly all this emotion will come out and go, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing. But really I just wanted to touch on that, because you've been through all of these experiences and all these challenges, but you're now on that journey of self-development. You're on that journey of knowing yourself. Have you got any thoughts for other people that, because, you know, I know things are changing, but still as men, you know, we struggle to open up, we struggle to be vulnerable, we struggle to seek help. I guess I'm interested, just, have you got any thoughts on what you might say to somebody who was maybe relating to what you've said, who maybe is still struggling with some of those issues, maybe feels like part of them knows they need a bit of help, but they're not quite sure about reaching out to get help? What kind of advice would you give?
My main thing is, one of my main messages in my talks as well, when I deliver a mental health talk, is understanding that not everyone in your life is someone you should open up to. People can cause more damage. And unconsciously. They're not doing it maliciously, and that's the beautiful part of it. That's where we can apply compassion to people who don't have the level of awareness, and that's fine, right? But if we can all, if in primary school we all learned what a psychologically safe environment was, or if we all just simply learned how to validate someone's emotion and not rush into fix, and not rush, right? If first of all you said to me, mate, I've come to this podcast falling out with message, I'm so angry. I'm like, tell me about it, man. I can see the anger. Like, your anger is valid. Express that to me. Like, that emotion is welcome here with me, right? There's no judgment. There's no trying to fix you. You're not broken.
See, I want to talk to you now.
Yeah.
I want to tell you.
Yeah, let's go.
That's empathy.
Right? And equally, the more we understand our own anger, and the reason anger is a part and it shows up to protect us, it is beautiful. It's a sacred part of us, but delivered in the wrong way sometimes, because we don't understand its intention.
I'm scared of it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm not perfect. Anger can still come out in a certain way for me. But yeah, once we understand that for ourselves, then someone comes to us with their anger, we can then apply that level of deeper empathy, because we're like, yeah, okay, I've felt that in my own body, and I know my own experience with that.
Yeah.
So part of this self-exploration process allows you to be more empathetic, which also allows deeper connection with other people.
Absolutely.
Because you're not meant to experience someone's sexual or physical abuse. You're not meant to be in there and feeling it.
Yeah.
But the more you understand pain and grief and sadness, and you feel that intensity in your own body, you can see me talking about my brother there and really be like, wow, I feel that emotion. That emotion lives on within me sometimes. And that's why I thought it was important for me to carry on through that and breathe through it and identify the sadness that was arriving, the grief. I think it's important. People watch that and they can
absolutely, and that's why I didn't interrupt you.
That's
why I didn't try and make you feel better.
You held a beautiful space.
Yeah, because the urge is, oh, Danny, are you okay, mate? It's okay. We'll change the subject. Let me come and just give you a hug. You know, that's kind of the urge. But actually, they're sacred feelings. They're valid,
Yeah.
and they're okay,
Yeah.
and they're welcome, and it's not. We don't have to rescue people.
No. Can I explain that urge to help? Are we
No, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
cool. That urge for me to save someone in that moment. Now I know through understanding that what you did was amazing, and I felt so comfortable in that. My urge to help someone else is because I grew up feeling responsible for other people's emotions. My mum never spoke about her emotions, any emotion, not just sadness.
Wow.
Never saw my mum cry. But if my mum was frustrated, she didn't explain that. Right?
Yeah.
There would be a huge emotional outburst, and then there would be mum might not talk to us for a couple of days. Mum might not talk to us for 12 hours, and you had to sit in that and internalise that. And a little boy internalises that as, I have caused my mum to feel this way. Now I am bad for that, and that shame that comes.
And that's
with
what
that.
children do. We blame ourselves.
Right? And so the most important thing for any parents listening, and this is something again I deliver, is the repair process. Don't leave anything to the interpretation for the kid to interpret.
Yeah.
Because a kid will always interpret it mostly as themselves. But if mum can come back and go, 6 hours ago, I was so frustrated. That emotion took me by storm. I kind of laid it on you pretty thick.
Yeah.
I want you to understand you're not responsible for mum's emotions. You're not responsible for how I deliver that emotion.
Yeah.
I want to apologise. Nothing to do with
Absolutely.
you. But what you did in that moment wasn't acceptable. It's not soft. It's not soft parenting. There's still a boundary there.
Yeah.
Of what you did there, I still won't accept. I will try to deal with my frustration a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you're not responsible for my emotions.
That's restorative.
Yeah.
And it's emotional literacy as well. And it's also, like you say, taking away that self-blame, because it's not a coincidence that one of the targets of trauma-focused therapy is self-blame, because most of us, when something bad happens, especially when you're a child surrounded by adults, you go, oh, why has this happened? Well, it's either that person's fault or it's my fault.
Yeah.
And as a child, you usually think it's your fault.
Absolutely. And if there's not a safe environment to discuss and say, I don't think that was my fault, and for someone to come back there and go, oh, it was not your, and if there's anger or something you evoke within that person, you push away from that, and then you will internalise it. My fault.
And I would say, like, if there are people listening that are still ruminating on highly stressful or potentially traumatic life events that they've been through, and still kind of giving themselves a hard time about it, try and think about it in terms of let go of that self-blame, because rarely is it ever entirely our fault. Life events happen for all kinds of reasons, complicated reasons with multiple variables, and I spent a lot of time working with people affected by trauma, and rarely ever was it entirely down to one factor.
No.
It's rarely ever that person's fault. Things happen to us, not because of us.
Yes.
Especially when you're a child. You've got no power, you've got no agency. You're at the you're ultimately quite vulnerable because you're relying on the adults around you to keep you alive and feed you and guide you and look after you. So it's not your fault.
No.
So that's hopefully a couple of useful messages. But I guess what I want to finish on, Dan, and thanks so much for being so open and generous with your conversation today. Just say a little bit about what you're doing in your kind of public speaking work and your kind of performance work. Just tell people a little bit about how this is now what you do on a day-to-day, so people can get a sense of how you might be able to kind of help.
There's many different arms. There's the one-to-one work I do, which is helping people to understand themselves if they're looking to high achieve, how they can enjoy that journey, how they can maximize that journey.
Is that kind of coaching relationship, mentoring relationship?
And very much through the stuff we spoke about today, the performance anxiety, the perfectionism, diving into that stuff. And in some ways it's priceless, isn't it? Like when we achieve something, if it's a 10-year journey of achieving something, we want to enjoy it. We're not going to enjoy every single moment. There's going to be emotions that arise in there, the frustration, the rejection, the failure, whatever. But to be able to hold ourselves through that, or build support networks within there and identify. So there's that element of stuff. Then there's the kind of public speaking and some of the corporate stuff, which is primarily around my journey with mental health, but also around human connection. My main thing, I think you mentioned it earlier, you only need one significant connection in your life to change your life. And identifying the environment and how we can build that over time, and vulnerability. And I talk about vulnerability and courage quite a lot. But getting before that, not just demanding that, getting before that and identifying psychologically safe environments, and in the end building a team that wants to collaborate because they feel connected to each other, not because they're told by their CEO they have to. And it's like, oh God, I've got to work with him today. He's this and that. You don't understand his triggers. You don't understand why you can't give that guy feedback and his emotional reaction. Just a little bit of a deeper understanding helps us to go, that's how he is. I'll approach it in this way. Still not, and really bring teams together and enjoy going to work where we spend most of our life and achieving things together.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you're kind of doing, we overlap in some ways in terms of this trauma-informed approach. But you're bringing it from your own personal perspective. I'm bringing it from my journey. You're bringing it from your journey. But ultimately, you're helping individuals and organisations to perform better, to have better connections, better relationships, and ultimately that brings resilience. And this term resilience means a lot of different things to a lot of different people in different settings. But I see it as how we stay healthy, how we flourish, how we cope in the face of stress. And life's about stress. Sometimes stress is tolerable. Sometimes it's even healthy. Kids need it for their brains to wire up properly. But sometimes it becomes unhealthy and damaging and harmful. And that word traumatic creates an injury or wound. So if we can help people, whether it's an individual leader or athlete or whatever, get the best out of their career and enjoy it and not be damaged by stress, that's a wonderful thing. And if you can help teams and organisations manage that damaging effect of stress so they're in a good place, they've got more to offer the people they're helping, and they're staying in the job that they love. Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. So really, how do people get hold of you if they want to work with you, Dan?
My website, I've just built a website. I thought I was kind of, I kind of went rogue with most of my stuff and word of mouth, but I realised, I have to play the game a little bit. I need a website that people can find a bit. So that's up and running next few days actually. So I can send something.
Brilliant.
Out
We'll put the website in the show notes, and you've also,
and social media is a big one.
Instagram, you do some great stuff on there. I've seen.
Yeah, I tried to.
I'm taking lessons from you on that.
Oh,
one.
yes,
I am,
cool. Yeah, I love the fact you're getting on there doing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm pushing myself a little bit.
Is it uncomfortable?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I don't mind standing in front of a room full of 1,000 people and speaking about that's a different matter.
Yeah, it is,
but going on social media doing videos and stuff is quite.
The
my imposter syndrome doesn't like it.
No, me neither. When I first started, and have you done any where you go to press share and you get that rush of like...
I don't do it. I send it to someone and go, have a look at that, and if you're happy, send it. Nice. I don't do it.
Yeah,
I can't bring myself.
Cool. No, I love the stuff you're doing.
And my thank you. My last question, Dan, and I think I said this to you last time we spoke, is what about an autobiography? Yeah. So much in your journey would help people. So much would inspire people. People are going to be interested because they love your achievements in sport. I've just been watched a few clips of you playing. Wow, incredible skill. Really impressive. So you're going to have a big audience, but you've also got some really powerful messages and some really valuable lessons for people. So I keep thinking that is a book I'd read or I'd listen to in the car.
Time, could be an excuse, but time with the little one I mentioned to you. I look after my little boy 2 days a week, which was very uncomfortable at first. I didn't know how to fully immerse myself in his world. I felt like I had to take him out and still do my chores, and finding the balance with that. I now find myself more and more able to just literally be in that moment with him, which I found uncomfortable before. Like, if I'm in there, am I not getting jobs done? Am I not productive? And I had to notice that. And so I have him 2 days a week, and I think it's the biggest thing for me in my life. It's the most important thing in my life. And so I had 3 days a week where I'm doing my work and deliveries, and so to write my book, I could do a sentence a day for the next 3 years. There's no excuse, is there? But it's something on the back burner. Something on the back burner.
I'm putting this to you, and I have a book contract that's 5 years overdue. So I think if they see this, they're definitely going to remember to sack me. But no, I'd just love to see that if you had got around to writing that or getting out writing it. I'd love to read that. I'm sure people would really benefit from it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to have you on. So much to think about. I never watch these things back, but actually I think I might actually go and watch this back. I might actually listen to it in the car.
Yeah, definitely.
So
cool.
Thanks so much for being with us.
No, thank you for having me,
It's
man.
been a real pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.